Hello, and welcome to this episode of Frankie's Cultural Observations. Today, we're going to be analysing millennials. Millennials have a beige, sanitised aesthetic, but they think they're quirky because they shop in Urban Outfitters and have no idea how to be a real adult. They try to mould their personality into a friendly, good vibes only Instagram caption to bandage over the spiritual wound of not being able to afford a mortgage. Millennials grew up with too many participation trophies to ever get dirt on their hands. As kids, millennials were constantly told how amazing they are by their overly attentive, smothering parents. This overflow of positive approval meant millennials internalised a sense of imposter syndrome when they felt they couldn't live up to an idealised version of themselves. This constant praise from their caregivers laid the groundwork for the creation of an infantilized ego, coupled with a lack of self-dependency that no overuse of emojis or hilarious cat memes in the work group chat would ever be able to cure. This is a debilitating condition called big guy syndrome, a persistent need for validation regardless of level of accomplishment. Why are you laughing? A practical application of this theory can be found when two or more millennials have a business meeting. They push today's agenda into tomorrow to try to hide the fact that they have no idea what they're doing. They set up meaningless meetings to check in, circle back, action this, and get aligned. They use this list of empty buzzwords as a shield of manufactured professionalism to protect themselves against the occupational hazards of learned helplessness. Stop. In previous literature, I've argued that Gen Zs exist on a spectrum from base to cringe, whereas millennials exist in two states, cringe to ironic cringe. Due to their fear of getting older, millennials desperately try to latch onto the zeitgeist, which is unironically cringe. However, other millennials try to be cringe on purpose, to differentiate themselves from their unironically cringe counterparts. And in an effort of being ironically cringe, unfortunately, they too are unironically cringe. Ever since the dawn of the gig economy, millennials have been in competition for resources, but it's a fun, happy hump day, small talk brunch type of competition in bubble love heart writing. This strategy of divide and conquer means millennials will never collectively organise against the power structures that keep them shackled to their hot desk, curating Spotify playlists from the comfort of their dystopian co-working space. To illustrate the generational differences between the human species, on a plummeting plane, millennials will be the ones arguing over who gets the first oxygen mask based on intersectionality. Gen Zs will be filming the carnage from their phone because they're too emotionally detached to care about what happens. And boomers will be the ones flying the plane into the ground because they were too stubborn to ask air traffic controller for directions. Millennials are the first generation to weaponize mental health. Despite their high levels of inclusivity and cultural acceptance, they'll set boundaries with anyone they dislike in an effort to avoid overcoming individual differences. This self-love tactic of phasing out the imaginary enemy creates an echo chamber in which millennials get to socially engineer opinions that are so similar to their own that they quiver at the very thought of a conflicting talking point, a looming work deadline, or a phone call from an unknown number. Millennials always talk about wanting a better world on Twitter, but only if they can outsource the responsibility to someone else and then steal all the credit for it. Millennials see morality as a performance art piece. Their life is an exhibition of staged sincerity, primarily concerned with the importance of seeming earnest. Millennials espouse the ideal of equality of opportunity in the workplace, as long as equality doesn't level the playing field, enough to lessen their chances of upgrading to a nicer office with its own window and a beanbag. Millennials are too scared to change the structures of society, opting instead to create more inclusive, less toxic versions of older generations' mistakes, such as vegan meat, faux fur, and my personal favourite, green capitalism.
I'm vegan.